Welcome back to another episode of Yarn Talk with Princess Tigerbutton. My name is Jamie, and I am the creative behind Princess Tigerbutton. I am a crochet artist, and I sell primarily plushies, but a few other things in person at markets and also online. And also, I'm here on YouTube. Welcome if this is your first time joining us, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Glad to have you. It's been a minute since I've done a video. I had to go back and look, and I saw that the last one I uploaded was on June 1st. And I made a lot of big talk about how I was going to be more consistent in posting and this and that and the other thing. And well, let's just say that life was lifing big time. Let's see. So we pretty much missed all of June in the first week of this month as well. So I hope that everyone had a safe and happy 4th, despite the fact that we were all melting. It was pretty wild. It was pretty hot here in Massachusetts too. It got pretty close. I don't think it broke 100, but I suppose with the heat index, it was definitely well over 100. The feels like was at least like 105 in the lead up to the 4th. That whole week was just unbearable, and it gets pretty hot here in the summer in Massachusetts, but not like that hot. So we're definitely not prepared for it. There's still a lot of people who don't even have ACs and don't feel like they need them. I was grateful and thankful that I do have AC, and Mark had AC at his house when I spent time there. So we were able to have some comfort, but I know a lot of people that just kind of grinned and bared it. The rest of my house outside of the room that I had the AC in was definitely pretty gross. So, what else did I do? I had 3 events in June. So if I talk to you on June 1st, that means that was the lead up to Rhode Island Anime Con, which was one of our first big events of the year. And so that was June 6th and 7th. So that was the first weekend in June. And that went really well. I was super nervous. I don't know what I was expecting, but everything went really smooth. Like, they were well prepared for us for load-in. We had plenty of time to set up ahead of time. Everybody was really friendly. But, I mean, it was a long 2 days, but we did really well. I ended up clearing like $1,700, which is, I know for some creators and some crochet artists, that's nothing. They can do $3,000 in a weekend. I see it all over YouTube. So apparently it happens. But for us, that was a big number. And for our first time out, that was really good. So we were very pleased with that. And what really got me was how many people remembered us from Western MassCon in April. Like, there was quite a few people that were like, didn't we see you out in Springfield? And you're like, yes, you did. Welcome back. And that was really exciting. And I think I was really nervous because I was the only crocheter in the Artist Alley. And I noticed on the application for next year, it specifically states that the Artist Alley is for drawing artists only. So clearly they either they had a lot of people that weren't able to get in that are drawing or comic related or anime related, or I don't know. But all of the other crochet vendors that were there, and there was identified at least 3 or 4, they were all in the vendor space. I mean, nobody said anything to us and nobody made any comments about it, but clearly, obviously, if I reapply for next year, that's going to be what the case is that it's going to be drawing artists only, so we will need to pay for a vendor space. They've given us an application, and so the smallest vendor space is going to be like $500, and I don't know if that was any sort of early bird discount, because I know they hadn't initially dropped vendor applications until like when did they do that? I want to say like last year, like October, November, they I know it was right before we booked for Comic-Con. So they had opened up. So that makes me wonder if they did any sort of early bird special, because I noticed the Artist Alley was only $400 instead of $450. And so I can't imagine anyone actually lowered their prices. Why would they do that in this economy? That's insane. So it must be some sort of discount. So I'm going to have to see about, hopefully we can keep some profits up in the next few events, and I can find the money to go ahead and book that in for next year. I couldn't do it at the festival, so we had to wait, but I'll definitely be looking to get back in there, because we actually had a great time. I'm just just put my windows down a little bit because it was a little hot with the car off and closed up in the kind of sun out here. But to return to AnimeCon, yeah, it was a crazy weekend. We ended up spending quite a bit of money. Everything in the convention center is super expensive. This was really, like, we got a taste of that at Western MassCon, but that was also like a casino, so believe it or not, like, I think the prices for food were actually a little less than what we paid being in Providence. But, yeah, everything at the convention center was crazy expensive, and we spent a lot. But part of that was also we were suckered into purchasing the special drink cups because Wild Bill Soda Company was there, and they make craft sodas, and they had some special con exclusive mugs, and the artist that drew the designs on them was there to sign them. So we ended up spending like $55 a mug, not including the cover and the straw, to be able to get a couple of mugs for us. But that allowed us free refills all day, and it was only $10 to get free refills all day on the second day, and boy did we make the use of that. So I had way too much fucking soda, but it got my money's worth, man. But no, actually their sodas were really good, and they weren't too far from the booth, so it was a pretty easy thing for us to be able to kind of just cover for each other and duck out and get some. So I am grateful for that, because we aren't always going to have that. They are going to be at Rhode Island Comic Con in November, so we'll be able to bring our cups back, and then we'll only have to pay $10 for free soda all day. So I'll be definitely looking forward to taking advantage of that. For a vendor, that is kind of a nice little perk. So that went super well, but I sold out of a lot of stuff. So I've been kind of behind the 8 ball all month trying to keep up. The next event we did after that was the following weekend on Sunday the 14th. I want to say it was Sunday. I think so. And that was Ocean State Card Con in West Warwick. That is the same event we did in December, and we actually did really good there in December. We sold a couple of deck boxes, and we were the only crochet table, so we were pretty well received. This time we were not, but there wasn't many. And after I scoped out the competition, again, we were the only one. Oh, that was the other thing that going back to AnimeCon, and this is kind of something that's been kind of going on that I was worried about back in Western MassCon. Is I sometimes, especially when I'm scoping out the other crochet vendors and what my direct competition is going to be, I mean, sometimes I kind of get a little catty about it because I look at what's on their social media and they're not very good. On one hand, like, I'm not going to tell you that your stuff doesn't look very good. I'm not going to give unsolicited advice, because a lot of times these people, when I go up to these tables, they give me like the evil eye. Like, they're so rude. And I don't know if it's because they clock me right away that I'm not a customer and I'm not going to purchase, so they immediately go into, if you're not going to buy anything, get out of my booth kind of mode. And I'm never like that. People spend time in my booth I've had customers literally go over and touch almost every plushie in the booth and then not buy anything. But I'm never going to like give them the stink eye or stare them down. That's just not how you roll. But I feel like, and I don't know if I'm just projecting something or I'm coming off with weird vibes, but when I go into other crochet booths, they all give me that kind of attitude. Like, I would love to be I watch Katie the Celestial Homebody, and like, she'll go around at events and stuff, and she will like chat up on camera on these other crochet vendors. Like, she's giving them a shout out and stuff like that, and they don't give her a hard time. But it seems like anytime that I try to even say hi to other crochet vendors when I'm at events, they give me like the dirtiest looks. Like, I don't know, is my product that good? Am I intimidating? Like, sometimes I feel like I'm definitely the top of the heap when I go into some of these places, but sometimes I don't feel that way. Sometimes I feel like for Western MassCon, there was that table pretty close to us that had like all Pokemons, I mean, mostly IPs. But, I mean, someone did make them, and she was crocheting at the event, so it was legit. And the craftsmanship was excellent. I mean, yeah, I judge it a little bit for making all your money on trademark things that technically you're not supposed to be selling. But her workmanship was good. And it was pretty detailed work. So I was a little intimidated that maybe my work didn't hold up. And it was kind of the same thing at AnimeCon. I had gotten inside my head a little bit, because not only was I the only one in the artist alley versus the vendors, I was the only one that did not have any trademarked items whatsoever. None. No Pokemon, no anime characters, no nothing. And there are a few different IPs where I could have stretched into and would have been legally okay, because those companies do give permission for fan art, like Concerned Ape, for example, for Stardew Valley. Although I don't know if that's going to change, because I just saw an ad on Facebook that they're going to be releasing a Stardew Valley crochet book in January. So their feel on fan art might change, I bet, once that releases, and now they've got trademarks and copyrights to worry about. So I'm willing to bet that merch policy is going to change. But like that, yeah. I mean, I don't make specifically Stardew Valley looking chickens, but I do make a blue one. So like, but because they were lenient with their fan art, I don't have to be coy about it if someone asks if it's Stardew Valley inspired. But that's as close as I get to trademarks. Like, I'm absolutely not making characters from anime, and I'd worried that maybe people weren't going to want to buy things that weren't part of their fandom. And that really wasn't the case. Like, definitely people were loving my booth, and they were buying all sorts of stuff. So, once again, I had kind of gotten into my head for nothing. And this was the same thing. Yeah, so from Western Mass Con was like that, Anime Con was like that. I've done CardCon before, so I already kind of knew that I could bring just more generic stuff. But the day was terrible. We made booth feedback, but just barely. And some of it I don't think was their fault. The field house, it's a very small operation. They do a lot of community events throughout the year, supporting like LGBT causes. They support kids and programs. Obviously it's card related, so they do like learn to play Pokemon, learn to play Magic, stuff like that. They provide community spaces for people to drop in and play card games. So I appreciate for what they're doing, and I know they're doing it with a very small budget. So I imagine they didn't have a lot of budget to book any sort of decent convention space. So we were basically in a field house that looks like it was like a high school sports complex, maybe, kind of thing. High school, or like maybe not community college or something or whatever. I didn't look up what teams were actually homed there. But that gymnasium was boiling hot. It was like 90 or very close to 90 that day. They had a couple of double doors to open up, but there's no, obviously being a field house, it's got high ceilings. There's some fans, but you're not going to feel air blowing on you. They had no AC. They didn't have much in the way for food or beverage. They had one food truck that was selling food and had drinks, and they had the field house had a vending machine and one of those little Dippin' Dots ice cream machines. And so you can imagine that even for the small turnout, that was sold out pretty quickly. So it was very hot with very limited means. Thankfully, we had brought water and we had brought Monsters with us, so we had something to drink. The food was excellent. The food was very good, but yeah, it was just the one option. So, but there just wasn't a lot of people. There wasn't a lot of foot traffic coming in, and the heat had a lot to do with that. But Emerald Square Mall also had their monthly card show that same weekend, and I heard a few people talking about the fact that people were going there instead of coming to CardCon. So I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot on that one. And unfortunately, they're going to be already booked to do another event in December, and once again, it's the same thing. They're going to be scheduling it the same weekend that Emerald Square Mall Cardboard Promotions is going to have their card show. So Mark and I had to make a decision, and so I won't be doing CardCon in December, unfortunately, because we just make more money at the mall that weekend. It's 2 days versus 1 day. It's in a facility that we're used to, and being right before Christmas, we're also going to have a chance to get regular mall traffic instead of just people there for the card show. So I think we're going to take our chances at the mall instead, and we're actually toying with the idea of potentially maybe booking 2 tables instead of 1. So instead of having our big tall cubby displayed like we usually do, we can spread out a little more, or we can bring more product. And maybe some of the other things that aren't just plushies either, especially being Christmas time. I can bring some accessories. I could bring the little table tree with the Christmas ornaments. I got to start on those too at some point. I don't know. I still got to do Halloween stuff. Like, I'm definitely trying to prep ahead, but I'm also trying to prep ahead for events that are coming up. So the CardCon went pretty poorly. Like I said, it's not that I would never do that event again, but we've already decided that we'll sit the next one out. But I really hope that they take some of this advice to heart when they consider next year, and either not scheduling for the same time as another major free show and expecting people to pay tickets to come to CardCon, or maybe considering another venue, because I think definitely having if you're going to do a summer show like that, definitely having a venue with just better facilities and whatnot, better planning would go a long way. But we'll continue to support them, and maybe there will be other events that we can get involved with besides the 2 conventions. But that's that. And then a couple weeks later, I had our last event of June, which was the North Attleboro Pride Festival on the 27th. And that was another one that I had really kind of gotten in my head about, and I had a whole mess of stuff I wanted to make that was Pride themed, and I ran out of time, and I didn't get to make all the things I wanted. I made a whole crap load of Pride ducks, because that's definitely one of our best sellers, and it did prove to be again. But I had wanted to make, I made some little plastic canvas ribbon candy stuff. We had made some Pride ribbon candies before, and some Pride plastic canvas that looked like the little Christmas balls in Pride flag colors. And they always sold well. Like, that was one of the only products I ever had take off on Etsy, actually, years ago when I first made those baubles. But at the time, there wasn't anything on Etsy for Pride ornaments, and we were selling them like hotcakes. And now I don't even get people looking at them. I don't know. I gotta spend time on the Etsy. Although I don't really want to. I'll just comb through, make sure everything's kind of adjusted, in some semblance of order. But I'm really trying to build up the Shopify and try to get the traffic there. We still haven't had any sales on the Shopify, but I'm still struggling with doing all the tasks on there, in terms of getting listings. They offered to make it simple by importing listings from Etsy, but the thing is, they imported the data, but everything's written weird, and I honestly think I'm just going to delete all of it and relist a bunch of things in my own way, just because I feel like that was way easier than trying to do it from importing. So lesson learned. But the other thing, I'm also trying to carefully navigate Shopify, because of the fact that, I don't know, because there's so many different apps that are part of Shopify. You pay a base fee for your Shopify per month, just to have your website to be able to handle payments and do the basic things. But other little tasks, setting up different marketing or trying to set up an email list, there's so many little apps that people develop to do that, but those also incur extra monthly fees and subscriptions. So I don't want to fall in the trap of something where now my however much, $39 a month or whatever, turns into $75 because I've added all these things on unbeknownst to me. So there's that. So I've been trying to do this very carefully and do as much of it myself so I don't end up having to spend budget I don't have. But it would be nice to really start getting something going in there, because, not having any sales in between the events, I'm making some decent money at some of these things, but I'm not making enough to fully cover all my bills and build up stock without having any sales happening online in the interim. So I really, really need to focus on that. And I want to get all of that on point, especially before we head into the fall season, before we head to Comic-Con. And so that way, when people go to our website and go to our socials, that they're seeing something that really makes them want to buy from us. So this has definitely been a learning process. This is, I will say, far and away the part of the job I hate the most is doing the marketing. I feel like that's a full-time job in and of itself. It's great, I have this Etsy shop, I have this website. Clearly they're not being found by people just randomly on Etsy or on Google. So now I have to advertise them somewhere. We're not making sales, so I don't have the budget to spend on a lot of advertising. So I'm kind of in a catch-22 that I need advertising to get sales, but I need sales to afford the advertising. Ah, yes, this is my Barbie glam rocker Stanley. I got this a couple years ago when they did a Barbie collab. And they took six or seven different iconic dolls from over the years and made Stanleys that kind of were in theme with that. And I thought this was the coolest one. And obviously it's a doll that I personally remember was the Barbie and the Rockers. So that was pretty sweet. Anyway, no more tangents. But yeah, so doing the marketing, and honestly, I even struggle with this social media stuff, knowing when to post, creating the content. it's not just a matter of me sitting here in my car and talking to you guys. That I can do. Well, occasionally. I could do better, I suppose. But it's like doing reels, and you see the reels that people make for their crochet plushies, and it'll be like, POV, you're bored and lonely and need a friend. And like, I don't talk that way. I don't know if I'm just not Gen Z or Gen Alpha enough, but I don't speak that way naturally, so it doesn't occur to me to like use the new lingo. And everything's got a hook like that, and the hooks are so obvious that, I don't know, I guess I'm just going to have to it's a can't beat 'em, join 'em situation. But creating that kind of content to be able to put up on social media and to keep, putting my stuff in front of people's eyeballs is probably the hardest part for me of the whole process. Making the things clearly isn't the problem. It's the marketing. And I feel like that's a whole other full-time job that I just don't have time for. And I don't know really how to streamline it for me and my level of focus, and I don't have the money to hire someone to do it for me. So it's been a process, a little bit at a time. But I am seriously going to try doing a little bit more with my social media, just because I do want to have this kind of built up and on point for the busy season. I definitely want people to be able to connect with us and get there and see something legit. I mean, to be fair, lots of people ask for cards, but none of these people have actually come back and either emailed me or reached out on any point of contact to buy stuff. Like, I mean, I get it. Nobody's got any money, but I just don't think, but I worry that they're reaching the website or they're reaching the Etsy shop or whatever, and something there is just making them leave. But I don't have time right now to lose sleep over that. But, yeah. So, yeah, going back to the Pride Festival, it rained a little. We'll back that up a little bit. So I didn't record any footage of that. I know I really haven't put up any market videos at all because, again, social media content and editing is like one of those tasks that my ADHD just avoids. So it's been really a Herculean task for me to get behind that. And plus having such a crazy schedule with wanting to spend time with Mark now that his schedule rotates, and having to give my kid a ride to work and be available at different times, and then everybody needs me, and then Maddie's there during the day, so if I'm recording at the house, she's going to want to be in it, and she's not my child, so I don't have it's not my consent that she be in a video and online, so I have to edit her out. So it's a lot, or at least to me it feels like a lot. And, so we didn't get any footage of the Pride Festival, in part because I wouldn't say we were running late. We definitely got there to set up on time. We had everything packed in the car, but Mark was working, so I only had Tristan to help me. And he's not used to helping me set up, so I'm very, very spoiled and very used to having Mark there to be able to he just knows what needs to be done, because we kind of work on it ahead of time. So, he can work on one thing while I'm working on another. Whereas with Tristan, Tristan's not hip to the, he doesn't know the process yet. So I have to then delegate and explain every task. And that's hard for me to do. Because at the point, if I have to explain every task, then I might as well be doing every task. And then we just didn't have the time for that, for me to be able to do everything myself. So, and it was hot. It was unbearably hot. And I damn near passed out. Yeah, it got bad. So I had to kind of park my butt for a little bit, but we had most of it set up. We had to rearrange at the last moment because the original layout we had would have put our behind the scenes cash out stuff in direct sunlight, and I was already dying. So I had to move to the other corner of the tent where it was shade, which worked out fine. It didn't stop people from coming in. It didn't stop people from buying stuff. So I'm kind of pleased that worked out all right. It did rain later in the afternoon. So we had to pull the tables in quickly a little bit. But our canopy did its job. It was angled nicely, so all the rain was running down and out of the way. And my stuff wasn't wet. And people still came in looking to buy stuff. That was the cool part. Rain didn't stop anybody. But so we did really well there. I made almost $600, which is definitely more than I made last year, and definitely more than I expected to make, because I figured at this point, with the economy the way it is, that people weren't going to spend on anything that wasn't like very small and cheap. But that wasn't the case at all. People were buying all sorts of stuff and really enjoying themselves, and so that made me really happy. So it went well. It was just it was a comedy of errors getting in there and getting set up, and we were late getting set up because the heat was just slowing us down, and it was raw. It was a lot, and I'm glad I wasn't trying to record at the same time because we were busy most of the day. So that was that. And I haven't really had any events since then, but I'm recording this on Saturday the 11th. So this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm going to be doing FOODEES Fest in Auburn at the Auburn Mall in the parking lot. This is the first year that FOODEES has been in New England. Then normally they do a lot of events down south because they can do them in other parts of the year when it's too cold to do them here. So this will be our first. So we don't know how this is going to go. We don't know what to expect. I don't know if I'm going to be mobbed with customers and I'm going to sell out on the first day, or I'm just going to have no traffic because everybody's going to be there for the food trucks and not for crafting. But we'll see. We're going to put our best foot forward. But once again, I'm kind of in my head like, am I going to have enough materials? Am I going to have enough stock? Because we know damn well I'm not going to be able to create anything. They're very long days. We're going to be there till 9 o'clock. And we have no security overnight. So like I'm going to get to set up the day before, but I'm only going to be setting up fixtures. And we're going to have to bring in the product and break it down every night, day and night. That's going to be annoying. But it is what it is. I just don't trust leaving that stuff. If it rains overnight, what am I going to, what's going to happen? And if they're not, I'm already kind of got a bad taste in my mouth because they aren't going to provide any sort of security. They want everybody to keep their stuff there. That doesn't fly with me. And then, by the same token, they also want us to pay a $50 cash deposit. So before we're even allowed to set up, but we'll get it back at the end of the event. But basically, the deposit is to force us to stay there and be open the entire time and not leave early or not leave in a mess or any of that stuff. So, I guess when you have that big of an event, that not having to clean up after a bunch of vendors that just bounced is all right. But I don't know why I'm itchy today. I did shower this morning, but like my scalp is still kind of itchy. So I'm kind of apprehensive already. I found one video on YouTube from another crochet vendor that did a Foodies Fest last summer in Memphis. And she had talked about they didn't have a plan, like a assigned spaces, and so it was kind of a free-for-all. And she said the traffic really wasn't that great because people were there for food based on how they had everybody lined up and set up. So I'm hoping maybe they got wise and maybe it's not a free-for-all. My plan, I have to do some door dashing tonight because it's almost supper time. But my plan tomorrow is, because there's another Foodies Fest in Rentham this weekend. So I'm going to go there and see if I can scope out one of the crochet vendors and just ask them what the process was like and what their thoughts are. Just so I know what I'm getting into next weekend. So I can be ready for it. But who knows, maybe I'll do really well there, and that'll give us some breathing room to restock and replenish for fall. I don't have a ton of things booked for fall. I have a couple of big events. I have Rhode Island Comic Con. I'm going to be doing the Woonsocket Pumpkin Fest, which is Columbus Day weekend in October. And that has been going on from like 30-something years, so that is a very well-established fair. So I feel pretty good that we'll do well there. It's definitely a big thing for families and kids and whatnot. So I think we'll attract a lot of customers that way. I don't have a ton going on in September yet. I'm still waiting to hear back from the Sudbury Colonial Fair that we did last year. I hadn't heard anything about it. They gave us a form at the event last year, and it said that the next one was going to be September 19th. Well, everything I'm seeing on social media says it's September 26th, so I'm glad I didn't pay them any money ahead of time, although I'm sure they would have honored it. But I only just saw a post like 3 or 4 days ago, maybe even longer, finally soliciting vendors. And it says, send a note to this email address. Well, it's the same email address. Monday of this week, I just wrote to them and was like, hey, do you still have room for vendors? We participated last year. We want to do it again. They haven't answered my email. It's been a few days. I guess I don't want to be too impatient. It is a bunch of dudes that just reenact colonial fife and drum corps. It's not like a big outfit here. But it would be nice if they would at least respond to the email. You know, especially if you're going to be event organizers. And that was kind of my one gripe from last year too, is that the communication was a little slow. But they ended up giving us everything we needed in time, and the day went well. So I wasn't too stressed out about it. But I would like to know how it's going to go and whether I can get in again, because we had a lot of fun at that fair and I would love to do it again. But if not, I want to know so I can book other things in September, or maybe couple other things in October, November. Plus, the Emerald Square Mall is always going to be an option for a couple of those. Well, not in October because it's the same weekend as the Pumpkin Fest, but we could do November. And like I said, we're definitely considering maybe doubling up on tables in December with a big push, because that'll be 12th, 13th, 14th, maybe? Or 12th, 13th, something like that. It'd be like the second weekend. So not quite right up before Christmas, but definitely in prime shopping time. So that's my plan. In case you were wondering what I'm making here, I am making some reusable water balloons. It's something I wanted to be doing for a while, and I just hadn't had the time to build up a stock of them. So I've been I brought that as my DoorDash project, since it's small and it doesn't need to be stuffed. And so I've just been working on those. Let me see if I've got a few finished here, so you can see what I'm doing. So like something like this, as you can see, it's kind of like balloon shaped. It's got a little tie there. And basically this is just burlap blanket yarn, and when you get this, it's really squishy, so when you get this wet, it sucks up quite a lot of water. And you can still hum it at somebody and give them a big splash. But the one thing you won't be doing is having to keep rebuying latex balloons or picking up little bits of broken balloon off your lawn. So that makes it perfectly good for small kids, makes it good for pets. So I figured I'd make a few of these in the Bernat Blanket Brights and make like a little rainbow set. And I guess I'll go to Dollar Tree or something and see if I can get like a little mesh basket or something that'll let water drain out of it, and like a cello bag, and market them that way. I'm not gonna make a crap ton until I know that they're gonna have some sort of interest. So I might make a handful of sets and see how that rolls. Because I thought it's something I've wanted to do for a while, and I think that would be super fun. And I suppose I can always have one out for a demo, because we're going to have a cooler with ice and stuff in it, so no doubt they'll have melty ice at some point where I can load it up with water and hum it at somebody and let them see how it splashes, or just let them feel how much it can hold. But hopefully that turns into something. That's kind of like my new product for Foodies Fest. Otherwise, I've just been kind of replenishing our favorites. I have a bag of stuff here. None of it's groundbreaking. None of it's stuff you haven't seen. Like I made a boatload more of mini chickens. I've actually sold like, how many did it? I was looking in Square for like the last year. And so these mini chickens are still relatively new for me, and I've already sold like 50 something of them. That's a lot. And like I've been trying to keep up with baby whales. I had some baby whales batch made before, where all I had to do is put the white parts on and stuff them. So I finished up all the half made ones I had, but I'll have to count these against what's in Square and see what I need to make left, because the pink and the blue and the light purple are the ones that go like hotcakes. The other colors don't seem to move as quickly. So I've got a bunch of baby whales. Traffic cones have been a big hit, and thank you, Scotland, for making them even more popular and exciting. Everybody went gaga over them at the Pride Fest, because, we're in the middle of the World Cup, and Scotland had just been here putting cones on all our statues. And so I made a bunch more of little traffic cones, and I have 2 giant traffic cones almost made at home. All I have to do is put the top onto the base and stuff them. So I'll have 2 big jumbo traffic cones to sell, because I kind of expect that, in the aftermath of the World Cup and Scotland having been left an indelible mark here on Massachusetts, that these are going to be popular. Otherwise, I've been trying to replenish my sea turtles. Oh, I thought I had another one in here. I've made 2 sea turtles, but I guess the other one didn't make it into this bag. I don't know where they went. Yoo-hoo! Oh, I see him. So I just made a couple like normal colored ones, some green and brown, because I had started making these before. Like I had already made the flippers and the heads, and they just needed to make the shells and bodies. So I went ahead and finished those off. I've been trying to find and identify all my parts of amigurumis so I can finish those off. Not only so I don't have a bunch of bag of whips around, but just so I can get these things out and made. I still have to make a bunch of cat minis because I had sold a lot of those, but I don't really have any of that to show off right now. Same thing with frogs. I made a couple of them, but I need to make a bunch more. I made like 10 more, an entire ball's worth of yellow yarns worth of duckies, which was, I want to say like eight more duckies. And I could probably make a few more because for whatever reason, the yellow sells far and away above everything else, except for maybe the pride ducks. Those do sell well too, but the traditional yellow ducks and, you know, Jeep ducking is super popular again this year, and I think and they seem to be going gaga for the crochet stuff. So I wanted to be fully ready. I'm going to make some of these ducks and other I'll probably use the blanket brights. And God, I hope they never discontinue these, because I swear to God, lately everything I make is in the Bernat blanket brights, and it's so hard to come by. You don't get it in the store. Hirschner's barely carries it if they ever do. And Yarn Inspirations is so slow to ship and hit or miss. I've actually been buying the brights on Amazon. And sometimes they'll have it like a 2-pack for $17.98, which works out to what, like $9 a piece? And in the store or at Hirschner's, I'm going to be spending like $15. So plus shipping or whatever, unless I get hit a sale. And the sales don't always coincide with when I need the yarn. And so Amazon, as much as I don't like lining Jeff Bezos's pocket, it's been really helpful to me to getting the exact yarn I need for my projects and getting it in time to be able to make use of it. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But these blanket brights seem to be, they're the only one. I don't know. I have to find a backup. I mean, I like some of the colorways and the regular Bernat blanket lines. I like some of the loops and thread stuff. I guess maybe I need to start spending a little bit more time on Premiere, maybe spending a little bit more time on, trying to think, not Sweet Snuggles Light, but, because I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with Sweet Snuggles Light, but like the Chenille Basics Brights, because otherwise Bernat Blanket Brights has been the most vivid rainbowy colors, and that's been really helpful to me in making bright, fun projects, and that's very much a big part of my brand. So having options for those, and I should probably consider a backup line in case they stop making the brights at some point, but hopefully that won't be for quite a while. So yeah, so that's my plan, is to try to just keep chugging away and making stuff and trying to fill up the table. Mark and I sat down and we already kind of tried to be responsible and make our floor plan for FOODEES in advance. I actually just bought another 4-foot table because we're going to try something a little different this time. We've tried Z shapes, but I usually can't ever afford to pay for a corner booth or something more fancy. And we never get assigned to corner booths, so I always have neighbors on either my direct left and right. So I feel like the Z shape works better when you have more space, or you have at least 2 sides open. So that hasn't really worked out well for us as much as I would like. But what I think we're going to do is we're going to try like a 4-foot table in the front and leaving the other 6 feet open to walk in. A 6-foot table behind the 4-foot, and then another 4-foot caddy corner to that. So when that's going to be where we're going to have our checkout, we're going to have and whatnot, and we still have like 2 feet to sit behind that. And on the opposite wall that's now empty, we're going to put our 2 grid walls, and that's where instead of building up super tall, we're going to be hanging all of our big plushies so that they can be seen. We're gonna line up some of our big showstoppers right out in the front on that first 4-foot table. It's probably going to be the pride ducks. It's going to be the cats. It's going to be things that I know are tried and true that draw people into the booth. Probably going to put something like the traffic cones or something on the checkout table, so that when you're looking right in the middle of the booth, you're going to see that right away. And then the 6-foot table, we're probably just going to put a couple of risers of cubbies on that and just kind of build out everything that way. So hopefully this will work out the way it does in my brain, and that gives us a lot of room inside and also enough room to display everything. Because that's been my real fear. Is we always did the traditional reverse U shape, where you put the 2 6s on the side and a 4 foot in the back, and then we sit behind the 4 foot. But I feel like people don't want to come and squeeze into that space. And if you get somebody with a stroller or a bunch of kids, you're going to get other people coming behind them, and they don't want to get in the way. And then sometimes they never come back. So I definitely wanted to have something with a little bit better flow. But of course, if we do end up on a corner or somewhere where I can have more sides open, then we will throw that all out the window and go with something with a little bit more flow. So, and that's been kind of the thing we've joked about, is that literally every 10 by 10 setup we've done has been different. And not so much because we're inconsistent, but because we've just been trying to tailor it to the actual space we're given. So, I don't know. I will, of course, take some videos on that. And at some point, I will at least try to get some of these things that I've already recorded out and up so you can kind of see what I've been working with. I really want to be able to get that off my plate and try to get to a point where I can get to it easier. And I'm not sure what I need to do to be able to do that. I guess I'm just going to have to designate a spot as this is my video editing day, and that's what it's going to have to be, regardless of what my feels and my ADHD says. Oh, and I made a little rainbow dinosaur. I decided I'm going to go ahead and let these guys be made with a 6mm hook instead of whatever the heck I was using. Must have been 5.25. I do like them. It's a little easier on my hands with the little slightly bigger hook. I wish I could get the legs where I want them. I feel like the legs are always sticking up in the air, but this one sits really well, so progress. We're getting better. This one definitely sits really well, but his legs are still kind of sticking up in the air. So they're really derpy, but for some reason, people keep buying them. So obviously they like derpy dinos. I like derpy dinos too. So that's going to be it for today, I think. I don't really have any shout outs or anything else. You've kind of seen what we're up to and what our news is. Oh, I do have one other bit of news, is that I have started a second YouTube channel. And you're going to say, oh my God, Jamie, why in the world would you do that when you can't be bothered with this one? And I'm hoping that one will actually kind of inspire me to do more with this one too. I've started streaming some video games when I have a little bit of time to play video games. So I started another channel for that because I didn't want to clog up this channel where it has a whole other purpose. So I will add that link into the description if you want to check that out as well. I'm starting, the main thing that I'm playing through right now is Final Fantasy XIV, which is a critically acclaimed MMO based on the Final Fantasy series of games. It's something I've been playing on and off for the last 4 or 5 years and really enjoyed, so I'm doing another playthrough of the main story quest, and that's been really enjoyable so far. On Fridays, I've started a free play Friday where I'm just going to play something random that either whatever tickles my fancy or something out of my Steam library that I haven't ever touched before to break up the monotony. And there might be some other little fun things in there too. So I'm kind of hoping that being consistent with that is going to help me be consistent with this. And hey, if one of them takes off, at least I'm making money somewhere. So that's what I'm after at the moment. So I think we're going to call it here. It's getting a little warm. It's almost time for my dash to start. And I want to head into Dunkin' and get something to drink. So I'm going to call it for now. Thank you for joining us and sticking around this far. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do so. It's free and it would really help us out. Help me get known. Share it with your friends. Give a like, comment on the videos. Let's get some conversations going. Tell me what's going on with your world. And I'll see you in the next one, hopefully not a month away. Bye.